Okay, it's 2:30, so I'd like to call to order the Washoe County Regional Parks, or Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting. Roll call, please.
Doug Doolittle,
Present.
Stephanie Chen,
Present.
Timothy Dake,
Present by Zoom.
Maxwell Di Natale,
Present.
Kevin Joel,
Present.
Nicholas Martin Kearney, Omer Rains is absent today, Lisa Rode.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3 is public comments. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, we have Mark Newman.
Good afternoon, everybody. For the record, Mark Newman. I'm here today just to put in my application for the regional parks and open space. And last year when I tried putting it in, they said I couldn't put it in because I was running for office at the time. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I've lived here in Washoe County since better part of 60 years. Graduated Reno High, class of 79. Raised 2 children here. Very interested in what's going on within our community. Retired sheet metal worker from Local 26 for 30 years. And I left my phone number on the card if you guys would like to call me and ask me any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions for you. And I'd appreciate you throwing it in towards our 2 new commissioners, Mr. Clark and Mrs. Garcia, that I was here and made a presentation. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Are there any others?
No, but just a reminder to use the raise hand icon if you're joining us via Zoom and have public comment. But I'm seeing no other.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, next item on the agenda is the election of Open Space and Regional Park Commission Chair and Vice Chair for a term January 25th, 2023 through January 25th, 2024. With that, I'd like to open it up to nominations for chair. Anybody?
Are you interested in continuing?
No, I am not. And the reason for that, I'm not trying to be smart aleck, but I've served 8 years. I go off in June. So I'm going to go off in June. So I think it'd be best if somebody kept going, went the full year.
Okay, this is Commissioner Dake. Hey, Stephanie, would you consider being nominated for the chair position?
I'd love to open the opportunity for others to lead as chair if there is interest.
I would like to, then I'll take it. I'd like to nominate Kevin Joel for chair. Is there a second? Thank you.
Yeah.
I second that.
Are there any other nominations? And before
we have a motion on the floor in terms of first and second, so you can vote on that, and if it gets voted down, then you can take other nominations.
And I guess, is this something that we need public comment on as well?
Yeah, you should take public comment on it. It's an action item.
Yeah. Is there any public comment prior to the vote? Hearing none, all those in favor of Kevin Joel as chair, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Am I allowed to vote on that?
You are allowed to vote on that.
Oh, okay. I'll abstain.
I will remove myself and,
We gotta
Scoot over one.
Swap seats.
yeah. Is that appropriate?
Yeah, I mean, you can let him take over right now, yeah. We still we also still do need a nomination for vice chair as well.
So to pass it off, nomination for vice chair is on the next. Let me make sure everybody knows who you are. Sorry for all the confusion.
Not awkward at all.
All right, I'd like to start by thanking Doug for his many years on the commission and multiple times serving as chair. You've done an excellent job, and I hope I can even attempt to run the meetings as well as you have been.
You already have. Thank you.
Okay, so we need a
Nomination.
accept nominations.
For vice chair.
So call for nominations for a vice chair. Does anyone have any nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Maxwell Dina-Till as vice chair. Dina-Tully?
Do we have to ask him if he will accept the nomination, or do we just call for seconds?
Oh, you could, as a courtesy, you can ask him.
Maxwell, do you accept that nomination?
I am very flattered, but I am not sure I am at a place with enough experience to accept that nomination in good faith.
So you can call for a second, or you can ask for another nomination.
Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Nicholas Martin Kearney as vice chair.
Nicholas, would you accept that? I will. You will. Is there a second for that
I will
nomination?
second that.
Thank you, Doug. Is there any public comment on that nomination? Hearing none. Vote? Is that, all those in favor of Nicholas Martin Kearney as vice chair signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Approval of the minutes for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of November 1st, 2022. Is there a motion for approval?
I move to accept.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We have, the next item is a presentation from Darren, is it Menante? And Greg Wenzel from the Washoe Golf Course on the Washoe Golf Course operations for 2022.
We skipped an item.
I think we skipped the minutes. Item number 6, approval of the minutes.
Oh, my bad. Okay, so,
Did we skip 5?
yeah, I think I
Sorry,
read.
we skipped 5.
Sorry, that was the top of the page there, I missed it. So, hearing items out of order.
Yeah.
Item number 5, approval of the agenda for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of January 25th, 2023. I hear a motion to approve,
Yeah, I motion to
and a second?
approve the minutes for this meeting.
I'll second.
Multiple seconds. So everyone in favor, say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Okay, so now can we jump to item number 7?
Yes.
Presentation from Washoe Golf Course.
Thank you. For the record, Eric Crump with the Washoe County's Community Services Department. So I believe this was a request from this commission to have a presentation on golf operations. This is something we like to do kind of annually with our golf course operators. Today we have Darren Minetti and Greg Wenzel from Washoe Golf, and then we will have Mike Mazzaferri from Maz Golf in a future meeting. He was not available. So with that, I'll turn it over to Darren and Greg.
Good afternoon. I'm Darren Minetti. I'm the golf pro at Washoe Golf Course, general manager, and this is Greg Wenzel, my partner. He's the director of golf, and we're both PGA professionals. And just want to thank you for giving us the opportunity today to give you an update on golf in the last 3 years. It looks like we have up there. And so as you see, Washoe Golf has seen increased play since COVID pandemic began. In 2020, we had 44,297 rounds. In 2021, we had 49,095 rounds. And then 2022, we've gone up to 51,300 rounds. You know, I think with COVID, you've seen an uptick of doing outdoor sports. So it's been very beneficial for us. And so we're looking forward to continue that. You know, we've done some work on it, and we're not going to be surprised if we see a light drop in participation 2023 due to economic factors, but believe the programs that we have put in place will continue to drive golfers to our facility. As you see, our 2022 golf operation review, total rounds up over 20% vs 2019. That was pre-COVID. Total rounds up 13% vs 2021, and that's up 4% versus 2022. Part of that's due to our league play has become a mainstay for our golf course. We've added a Wednesday night league in 2022 that saw similar levels of participation to our Monday and Tuesday night leagues. And those are 9-hole leagues instead of 18. And they start at 5:30, and we shotgun about 140 players each of those nights, so our golf course is full. Men's club and women's club are well supported. Our men's average 85 players per event, women average about 60 players per event. The demand for golf in 2022 was with increased play, we had to create and maintain programs to satisfy new and existing customers. In our junior program, we have 3 junior golf camps, 1 fall camp we'll do in the next 5 years, and a competitive PGA Junior League. We're the home of, which is moving to Wild Creek. That will go over there. So we've done that. That's First Tee program, which has been a great asset to our club and all the other clubs in Northern Nevada, which they go to different courses and they get trained and to learn how to golf and life skills. So I think that's been a very popular for this whole community. Our clinics, as you see, TMCC Epic classes established in 2022 will continue in 2023. And then we have our monthly Golf Game Pacific clinics that it's putting, chipping, full swing to get basically a beginner golfer out and learning how to play. And then 2022 golf course maintenance review. We with the drought that's come, not this year, but hopefully, the drought resistant measures, we remove and replace out of play areas with DG, approximately 1 acre per hole. Holes completed so far are 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 13, and 15. The improvements made to irrigation system was raise and level heads, and that's continuous through our time there, replacing broken damaged heads. And then as you see, remove, level, and replace existing tees. Our tees were an old golf course and they're starting to break down and crumble. So far we've replaced hole 5 and number 9 in 2021 and the front and back tee for number 10 in 2022.
All right, so looking at our survey of green fees, which is something we're required to do for Washoe County each year, just to kind of give you an idea of the prices everybody else charges and the prices we charge and how we compare. We are the most affordable course in town. Cirrus Sage is, it's in Reno, but it wouldn't quite be as close to downtown as us. We're the two most affordable courses in town, really. Everybody else have increased their prices a lot quicker than we have, generally, as you'll see on our next page here. We typically, if we do raise our rates, it's only $1. So for 2023, we did increase our green fee $1 and then our cart fee $1. That's where we get the $54 rate that we saw on the previous screen for our highest rate. But we do have senior rates, which is $5 less in the morning. And then same thing with the afternoon. We have a senior rate in the afternoon. That's $5 less in our twilight. And then we are increasing our large bucket price by $1 in 2023. And mostly that's just due to our increasing costs to run the range. For our marketing plan, Darren talked about the clinics that we have put on. We're going to continue to expand those until they stop filling up. We did have the Team CC class that we started last year that had a waiting list on both the sessions we did. So that's the reason we're going to do it again this next year. And then, the opportunities that Darren talked about in the golf-specific clinics, those are hitting the new golfers that came in during COVID. We're going to continue to reach out to the local businesses for our leagues. So for our Monday league, we reach out to the local craft breweries, and then Tuesday and Wednesday, we reach out to all of our other local businesses. And typically we try to stay away from the mainstream businesses that might be expanding across, the West Coast or the US. It's mostly the actual established in Reno businesses that we go after there. Email, social media posts, and our app are channels that we use predominantly to advertise a lot of our promotions. And then our paid advertising generally is through Google and Facebook. Over the years, we've generated a lot of data that we can use to target specific people, which is really strong when we need to run a campaign. As I mentioned previously with the leagues, I think our goal over the last few years really has been to build a community at the golf course where people feel comfortable and welcome and want to return. With our league play, as Darren said, it's 22 weeks. We do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and these are getting between 120 and 140 people per week. And generally we have wait lists for those leagues, so those have done really well. We started the Liberty Bell at the Shoe with Jeff Fay, who ran the original Liberty Bell. We started that probably 3 or 4 years ago. Very limited on how often we offer it. We're up to 2 nights a week in the winter. But again, wait list for that. It seems like we get calls every day. Restaurant promos, we'll do food and drink specials really throughout the year. And then disc golf, which was installed in 2020. We average about 1,000 rounds a year, which turns out to be, roughly, 3 or 4 rounds a day. So it's not in huge demand, but we will continue to refine that operation as golfers and disc golfers get along, we'll say. We've had some holes that have needed to be moved because of them being a little bit too much in play. So in 2023, we're going to go after our leagues again. Again, that's a big part of our weekday business. The fun format would be a scramble that we introduce in all of our leagues. It's pretty much the same format every week. People enjoy it. Really allows people from beginner to advanced to be able to on the same team and feel like they contribute. And then, as I mentioned prior, the leagues are partnering with our local businesses. Ideas for 2023, we have a Monday ladies group that plays 9 holes. That has grown over the years, and we'll continue to grow that. And then we have a small senior group now on Wednesdays, but we're looking to grow that as we see some potential there. For this last one, install new short course tees. Our golf course was built in 1937, the tees that were established then weren't necessarily directed at women or juniors. So our ladies' tees are pretty far back. It's a very long course for them. So we introduced the idea to our women's club that we could place shorter tees in the fairways. And it looks like there's going to be a pretty high demand for that. And hopefully that allows our ladies' club to grow. It's approximately 1,000 yards shorter. And as I mentioned, those tees are going to be placed in existing fairways. Essentially, there's going to be a marker in the ground, and then we'll set tees each morning that they are going to be used.
And last but not least, we'll talk to you about our capital improvements. This year, or last year, we replaced the cart barn roof. We've done extensive tree work expected over the next 5 years. Continued irrigation is a constant 2022, 2023. We did purchase a new main filter where the water enters the property in 2023, and that should be at the middle of February that's going to get done. We did do a proposal to help fund the new HVAC system in the restaurant area. It's just not working anymore, and it's hurting our business, so we've come up with a plan and a proposal. We continue to replace our old tee boxes. We're going to replace our pro shop flooring. We did the restaurant a few years ago, repainted it, rejuvenated all that, and then repair and place netting where needed, and that's on a continual basis. After these last storms, it's going to be a pretty good hit on us, but we got to do it. And extensive aerification practices. We're always going to aerify our fairways, tees and rough to maintain the golf course. And just with those procedures, it gets better and better every year. Again, we'd just like to thank you for letting us talk to you today, and we're looking forward to the 2023 and hope to continue the great success we've had in previous years.
Thank you, gentlemen. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Doug?
Darren, thanks for the report. I really appreciate it. And great job on getting the rounds up every year over the past 3 years. That's something that's awful hard, particularly in today's climate with the cost of almost everything. Golf is one of those things that people can put aside to buy food or travel or do whatever they want to do. But I think you've done a great job increasing the rounds. I guess a question I have, based on the amount of snow that we've had this year and the snow that you have out there now, do you anticipate any issues with mold or any, particularly on the greens going forward?
Starting last week, we started taking all the snow off the greens. We are hopefully the bad ones of 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, and then like today, we've taken 2 other off, and we'll continue, and then we're going to put some fungicide down then for snow mold. We're worried about it, but I think if we can get the snow mold down, we did spray right before the storm. It's just been a long time with the snow, and then the ice is up, and then it really hurts us.
That was my concern, because the temperature is more than anything else. The snow you get, but generally it's gone by now.
Right.
After a storm. It's sticking around with the temperatures that we're having. So good. I'm glad you're looking at that. And I say continue the programs that you got going. I think they're great. And the growth is there for the right price. So.
Yeah, and we've always believed that we are a community golf course, and price is a key to our success, and also a product. So, every year we're continue to just improve, and it might not look a lot, but at the end of the day, the course is in way better shape. The restaurant is remodeled, the pro shop's remodeled, and we've put a bunch of effort into the golf course to make it better. So,
last question on the pro shop: have you seen growth year to year on the pro shop as well in revenues?
I think we have. This last year was unbelievable, and the year before, and then when COVID first hit, it really knocked us. We couldn't get anything. Yeah. So now we can, and not waiting 8 weeks for a set of golf clubs instead of 10 to 14 days. So, and we do have fitting center up there, and we put a simulator upstairs so we can give golf lessons and people can hit balls upstairs and do something over the winter when we have these months. So it's something else that we've brought into.
Thanks.
Any other commissioners have any questions or comments?
Yeah, just comment on the presentation. Good, clear presentation, gentlemen. Thank you for that, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your time. And Doug, thanks for all your years of experience. We appreciate it.
And gentlemen, I have a comment and a question. First of all, I commend you on the multiple use aspect of the golf course and incorporating the disc golf. That's something that I think everyone that manages public access lands struggles with, is how to maximize use. And I had never heard of that being done before. So good job on working that into the golf course and providing that amenity for the people that play it as well. And my question is, I saw that you host some junior golf camps. Is there a cost to that? And if there is, are there scholarship opportunities for those that might not be able to afford getting into the sport?
Yeah, so there is a cost for the week-long camp. It's $199. If anybody ever has any issues with not being able to afford it, we definitely make it happen.
Cool, thank you.
So that's on a case by case. We don't necessarily have scholarships, but we have had people talk to us and say, hey, look, I can't afford this, and we're never going to turn any juniors away.
Sure, sounds good, thank you. Is there anything from staff as part of this report? Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Item number 8, presentation, discussion, and possible approval of a special event agreement with E720 LLC for the Battle Axe and Tracks Music Festival to be held at Rancho San Rafael Regional Park, October 7th and 8th, 2023.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Colleen Wallace-Barnum, Park Operations Superintendent for the record. So on this item, just a quick summary, E720, and the two folks with E720 that we work with are Ken Fardley and Gina Lopez. They approached us in 2021 with a desire to bring a Battle Axe and Tracks music festival. It's mostly blues music to Rancho San Rafael Park. And through discussions with staff and through approvals, the event took place on October 1st and 2nd of 2022. They really were pleased with the experience at Rancho San Rafael Park and wanted to bring it back. Shortly after the event, they had reached out to park staff to kind of say, hey, can we meet with you, talk about the event, how it went, and see if we can do anything better. So we did receive shortly after the event, probably within a day or two, early October, probably about 5 emails from neighboring residents and with concerns. And two varieties. It was really with noise levels, saying that it was just too loud. And then the second complaint had to do with how late it went. On a Sunday night, it went till 10 p.m. And people with small children who were going to school, the next day were, kind of concerned about, the time. So we worked with the event organizers and kind of made some recommendations about how they could, modify the stage orientation in addition to maybe ending it earlier to accommodate the neighboring residents. And, we had Art Town in 2021 all summer, every night. There was a concert, and we really heard no complaints from that. Also recommended that maybe they go through the neighborhood and talk with residents a few weeks before the event, just let them know it's happening, how they're going to mitigate some of the issues, that arose from 2022. That is the background on the festival and sort of what we've done to try to help mitigate some of the concerns from neighbors. Similar to other special events, the vast majority of the responsibilities of the event lie on the promoter. In the agreement, you'll see, the vast majority of things that are required are on the promoter themselves. The county really has some staff available, but we require them to do most everything. I wanted to let you know that Ken Farley is attending this meeting via Zoom, and he has a presentation to kind of go over the 2022 event and then to go through the orientation of the event for 2023, some of the changes they made. So I would like to introduce Ken and let him get started on his presentation.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. I appreciate the Commission's time today, and thank you, Colleen, once again. And I would like to say, I'll probably say it about 3 more times, Colleen and her staff out at Rancho San Rafael have been absolutely wonderful to work with, and we're looking forward to continuing to work with them again. They're really phenomenal for us. So I have a short presentation and see if I can pull this off by sharing my screen, and we'll see how we go from there. Perhaps. Or not. Denise, would you mind not seeming to get this to go?
We can see it. Will it just not start?
Yeah, I'm not getting it to begin.
Okay. Yep, I have it ready. So let me just one second.
Right.
I'll get that up. Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah, and you'll just have to kind of click through it. The second screen is going to be a video of last year's event, and then it'll pretty much just be a click through thing.
Thank you, sir.
I don't know if the video came through with the file.
That's the best part.
I know, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and click on to the next screen, and I'll kind of begin. So E720 is the company that Gina Lopez and I formed to begin Battle Axe and Tracks Music Festival. We have over 25 years of event in experience along with arts and music. We formed in order to create the music festival because we wish to promote what we know and love, not only about music and arts, but Northern Nevada as well. And we were lucky enough to have Rancho San Rafael Park available for us, which turned out to be even greater than we could even imagine, just as far as logistically and pure beauty for all of our concert participants. As Colleen said, Battle Axe and Tracks is a multi-day music festival. We have concentrated on guitar playing, which led to a lot of our blues musicians last year, which will be a staple for us, but we will be bringing in different genres throughout the years as we develop the music festival. And this year, it's going to be taking place on October 7th and 8th. As I said before, the goal of why we started everything, we really have a lot of ties to Reno and Northern Nevada in the music industry, and want to just show off what we can do in Northern Nevada, not only music-wise, but our historic locations in Reno, Carson City, and Virginia City also. So what's new in 2023? Colleen touched on a lot of these, but first off will be the new location for the stages, which will be the next screen. The stages are in the 2 yellow boxes on the left-hand side over by the parking lot. That is the same orientation that we had for Art Town, which, as Colleen said, there were few to zero complaints during the Art Town in 2020. That orientation, we've changed from where we had stages down at the lower end and did receive, as Colleen said, a few noise complaints. So we're definitely want to keep in mind that we're our partners with the residences adjacent to the park, and we will work to alleviate any of that, those issues. And also, due to, as Colleen said, we played until 10 p.m. both Saturday and Sunday night. We are changing both nights, actually. We'd like to go up until 9 p.m. on Saturday and 8 p.m. on Sunday, just to alleviate any issues, again, that the residents may have with, getting up, going to work, and going to school the next day on Monday. Go ahead and click through to the next slide, please, Denise. So we received tremendous feedback from all of our festival goers throughout, and we kind of put some of those here. We have already begun pre-sale tickets and have sold a number of tickets for next year's festival without even a lineup or a date, actually. E720, we're expecting to sell 2,500 tickets this year, up to a maximum of 4,000. Based on the past, 20% of these attendees are from out of the area, up to about 30% actually in our pre-sale tickets so far. For 2 nights in local motels, RV parks, spending an average of $220 a day on the accommodations, food, brings in approximately $700,000 over the weekend to the local economy. And that's all I have for a presentation, but I'm definitely would love any questions from the commission.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners?
I do.
Doug?
A question I have on the decibel readers. I talked about it earlier with staff, and I wanted to make certain that there is some monitoring of that by staff. So I would recommend that staff work with the festival organizers, and when those readers are used in the outer limits of the parking area or outer limits of the festival area and do the measurements, it'd be nice if staff was there to validate and verify those numbers and make certain that they do happen at the appropriate spot.
Okay. And in the agreement, we have a requirement that the organizer does that.
Right.
And Gina did provide me the decibel meter readings from the front of the house.
Right.
So it would be right in front of the stage, and it was not exceeding 100 in front of the stage. So, that in theory is the loudest place that you're going to hear the music. But, again, if decibel meters throughout, at a variety of locations, and I think it does refer to a variety of locations at the Washington Street entrance and Sierra Street entrance to monitor those levels, we can certainly request that they do a little bit more of that too as well.
Well, I think the reason I bring it up is you have it in the contract, and to make certain that they hold to that contract, which they did. But, there's an echoing effect, too, in basins, in small basins like that, and you want to make certain that they're measured at the appropriate spot, so when those questions come up, you can answer them as per that particular contract. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I apologize. It's the Coleman Street and Washington Street entrances. So Coleman being the farthest west, which would be good to, know what we're hearing at the far end of the park.
The only other question I have is on cleanup. Do those cleanup efforts take place on Sunday night after the event or on Monday?
The agreement allows for 2 days of cleanup after the event, so I think they have it through Tuesday, October 10th, perhaps.
Well, the reason I ask the question is that 8 p.m. stop does not get stretched to midnight because they're doing cleanup.
Correct. It won't get stretched. They have the next 2 days for breaking down the festival, the stages and everything.
Thank you.
And I guess my comment or question, and I kind of already know the answer, but we received some public comment that had some very valid complaints from the neighbors on the noise and how late it went. And I just want to confirm that those comments were based on last October's event. And the changes that were mentioned are in place for this upcoming event that will hopefully address some of those concerns from the neighbors.
Correct.
So that's kind of already been addressed.
We hope so. So in
Okay.
2021, when we had the Art Town Festival, they had a large stage, and the orientation of the stage was towards McCarran, so it was north facing. And I think the difference is the event last year was more west facing, and I think the way that the music, it emanated out into the neighborhood easier. So I think if the back of the stage is towards the neighbors, we won't have as many issues, and it would be very similar, if not, very similar to what our town had, which I think, we really didn't receive complaints. So we were thinking it must be how the stage was oriented. And that orientation was at our recommendation at that time, so.
Okay. And this is only a one-year approval, so
It's
if
a
there's
one-year approval
issues
with
this
the
one-
ability to do renewals if it's successful.
Okay,
Correct.
very good.
It's not a done deal. It's not a 5-year agreement. It's a 1-year, and then we can do renewals every year based on success of the event. That's how it's written into the agreement.
Okay. Any other comments or question?
I do have a question. If I'm reading the map correctly, is this new orientation then to put the stages to face the dog park area?
I have a question. This is Lisa Rhodey.
Hang on a second.
I'm-
Hit your mic button there. It's sometimes hard to tell
Okay.
whether it's on or off.
Sorry about that. I'm just wondering if there are any other suitable venues for this event. Is Rancho the only suitable venue?
Not the only suitable venue, certainly a venue where we've done music festivals before. You're going to need a large open turf area, so really any park that we have with a large open turf area would be appropriate. I think there was a recommendation to see if it could be appropriate at Bartley Ranch Park where the Hawkins Amphitheater is, and we only allow for a maximum of 1,000 participants at that theater, so that wouldn't be the right fit. But there are other large grass areas at some of our regional parks where it could be appropriate. And sorry, Commissioner Martin Kearney, do you want to continue?
Thanks. Can you hear me now? My question is now the orientation that the stages will be facing the dog park and between the Nevada families, so that walkway, that's where the sound will be going that direction then?
Correct.
Okay.
Facing, I would say northeast is kind of the direction of where that would be facing. More north than east. If due north is the top of the page, if that makes sense.
Any other questions or comments? We need to take public comment on this. Is there any public comment on this item?
We did receive public comment from Cindy Sullivan that was forwarded to all of the commissioners, so I just wanted to state that for the record. And comment from Tina Nappy as well, and Tina Nappy is also here to speak.
Would you like to come up?
Thank you. And good afternoon, everybody. And hello, Doug, from many years ago. I once served on this Washoe County Park Commission, so it's very nice to be here, although the circumstances could be better for what I'm about to say. But I want to thank you all for serving. My name is Tina Nappy. I am a resident, one of the residents who complained. My house was probably the closest to the music venue, and it was appalling. There is no privacy anywhere, no silence in the house when a venue like this is going on. And I'm assuming that you will go forward with approval for this year, but it made me think about a lot of things, thinking of things that could be done by park staff and by this body. First of all, 100 decibels is too much for a residential area. The policy, which works well probably at Bartley Ranch and in the pasture at Rancho San Rafael, because the dog park, as you know, is in a sort of little valley, does not work well with residences. And I am concerned that this is going to establish a precedent already indicated that we are going to have not only this, but maybe more in the future. It's noisy. And I did listen to the art festival music in the Botanical Garden 2 years ago because it is extremely noisy. So my first proposal that I hope you will consider and park staff will consider is that you look at a different decibel system for those venues that are going to be adjacent to residences. Right now, it may only be Rancho San Rafael, but in the long run, residences are building up around all of these parks, and I think it needs to be looked at. And this particular festival can be held in different places. The second thing I would like to suggest is that we did receive notice that at least one person contacted the city of Reno, not knowing who the park is, not knowing who it's administered by. Most people have no idea when they have a concern, and frankly, there are very few staff around on weekends. So I would like to see posting at each park entrance when you have events like this coming, a notice that this event is coming and someplace where you can contact somebody and be aware of it and comment in advance of this rather than during or after the fact. Rancho San Rafael is an urban park, at least on at least 3 sides. And it is valuable and I think a courtesy to let the public know what is going on. I do appreciate that park staff have asked the party, Battle Axe and Tracks, to go around the neighborhood and let people know. It used to be, oh, is that for me?
Yes.
Is that time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So unfortunately, we don't go over 3
All right,
minutes.
well, I guess I didn't know that.
But you sent the suggestions to us in the email, correct?
I don't know.
Is that
I sent them to
one of the ones that we received?
Colleen. So,
So I know I read the email and I thought that those were some good ideas that you presented. And it sounds like some of them are being looked at. Is that correct, Colleen? And do we have a policy on sound at events in general? Oh, we already do?
I am not aware of a sound policy for events, but we can certainly look into it.
Is that, remember when we did the dog park stuff and we pulled up rules from like all sorts of other cities and how they handled their off-leash
Right.
rules? And
Yep.
I mean, I'm just thinking we might be able to find something and copy it.
Yeah, there may be, and I will also comment on a statement that Ms. Nappy made, which is that the vast majority of our parks have neighborhoods right next to them. So, I mean,
Yes.
it's all getting built up around our parks. If they were in the back 40 before, they're not any longer. You know, we're building communities right up to them, so, and I think Director Crump wants to say something. So.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we finish public comment before we bring it back to the board to have discussion with staff in regard to any of the items that were brought up with public comment.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on this item? Is there any comment from the virtual attendees?
I'm not seeing any raised hands, so no.
Thank you. So,
Board for discussion.
okay, back to discussion with staff.
Thank you. For the record, Eric Crump. We were actually just looking up, this body and the Board of County Commissioners did approve a special event policy for all of our parks, and then we had park-specific policies. It's been a while since I looked at them, so honestly, I don't know if the decibel is in there. I believe it is, but we're looking it up right now. But I can give you some background on where we came up with 100 decibels. It was actually during the Blues Festival that was done. I was actually working at Rancho San Rafael and conducted the decibel levels myself at those locations. That was kind of the first big music event that was ever held at Rancho, and obviously some have followed. So that's kind of the background of it. That 100 decibels, I won't say it's arbitrary. I think we looked to see kind of what was best practice and what was acceptable during that time, and it's worked for us in the past. But certainly, you know, as events move around the park, we can certainly adjust that. But that's why we focused on kind of the two adjacent areas that are nearest to neighborhoods and what's the sound level there, regardless of what's the sound level in the park. So just some background on that.
Thank you.
I'm still looking it up. For the record, Colleen Wallace-Barnum, Park Operations Superintendent. So we can certainly look further into the special event policy and the decibel level that would be appropriate for events with music adjacent to neighborhoods.
That sounds good.
If it needs to change.
Yeah, and I appreciate the, already having the adjustments to the event for next year to address some of the concerns that were received. But, I think obviously, the park, although, it serves a purpose with doing music festivals and stuff because we just don't have all these many areas to gather. I think most people that live next to the park kind of expect it to be a quiet, tranquil place most of the time. And we just have to kind of balance those needs and desires. So, my concern is if the, and it sounds like this is kind of already being done, but like the decibel level in front of the stage is not as relevant as what it is at the neighbor's house, or, how that sound is traveling and affecting them. The people in front of the stage are paying for that experience. So they're less likely to be concerned, but we need to be, as the managers, so to speak, concerned with the level of the sound that's escaping the park and impacting other people's lives that aren't participating in the festival. So the sound meter readings, are they done by the promoter or by a contractor?
They're done by the promoter.
Okay.
And required per the agreement to be done by the promoter.
Okay.
And it just says providing sound monitoring services, so they could hire a contractor if that was an appropriate thing for them to do. And I also would like to provide an opportunity for E720 to maybe let us know exactly how they could potentially do sound monitoring differently for this event.
Yeah, because I think there's opportunity, and if they're reaching out to the neighborhood and perhaps providing them with a 24-hour contact information for their event, if they do run late or they do, are over the sound levels, that the neighbors feel they have someone to talk to rather than park staff that may or may not still be on site. Chairman Doolittle? Or Commissioner Doolittle?
Yeah, thank you. First, I appreciated all the comments that we've had on the event, and all events for that matter. And I certainly understand where they're coming from, being in the neighborhood. I mean, I live in a neighborhood that's 3 miles away from a high school, and I hear their band playing during football games, so I understand noise levels impacts the neighborhoods. Having said that, almost every regional park we have now is surrounded by homes. And I think it would be very prudent to, I thought it was in the policy, in the special events policy, but if it's not, I think it'd be a good time to maybe bring that back to the commission with recommendations on what those decibel readings would be based on industry standards or particularly in parks and recreation facilities that are of similar size in different communities, and get some kind of sound expert to give you some advice on it. So I mean, it's just an approach, but I think it's something that, given the way that this community is growing, if it's not in the policy, we should have it in the policy.
Okay. I quickly perused it. I didn't see a subsection for it, but it could very well be in the.
And I'm getting old. I can't remember everything, so forgive me. But if it's not there, we should look at it.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? And do I hear a motion to?
And sorry, can I?
Oh, yes,
My
I'm
apologies
sorry.
for interrupting, Chair Joel. based on the recent changes we made to Chapter 95, I just wanted to make it clear to everyone that this is the final approving body for the special event and any future special event agreement. It won't go to the Board of County Commissioners any longer.
Okay, thank you for that. So do I hear a motion to approve and/or a motion to approve with conditions or comments?
I would make a motion to approve with conditions and comments.
What is your motion?
Well, it would be nice to know the final decibel level. That's my main problem with just saying, let's prove it.
So how would we word that?
Well, I thought you had suggested looking at what other cities are doing.
If I could, Colleen Wallace Barnum for the record, on the Battle Axe and Tracks agreement on, it looks like page 4, where it says promoter will provide sound monitoring device services at regular intervals throughout the scheduled events. The maximum amplified sound level will be 100 decibels at the Coleman Street and Washington Street entrances of the park. The sound must be measured at least once during practice sessions and no less than 2 other times during the scheduled amplified performances. Findings shall be documented and a report provided to the department within 30 days of the completion of the event. You could request a change to that decibel level in the agreement, or a recommendation that we make that decibel level a different number once we change that in the special events policy. So we look into changing that policy and bring that back to the board, and then once that policy has been changed, then we would make sure that this agreement is in compliance with that policy and the decibel level reading required per that policy change.
So a motion could say, we approve this pending adoption of a sound policy which would supersede what's in this agreement. Is that correct?
I'd be hesitant, Mr. Chairman, Michael Large on behalf of the DA's office, I'd be hesitant to do that because I don't know when that policy would be changed. What my recommendation would be in regard to this agreement is either you put a defined decibel level in regard to this, whether 100 or 75, or leave it to staff discretion. I would say a recommendation from this board would, or in regard to future agreements on this, is that it be limited based on county policy that any time that it does get approved. Because I'm not sure between now and when this festival goes on, we will have a change in that policy. Is that, am I seeing a nod over there, Mr. Crump?
Yeah, thank you for the record. And I have the same concern. You could certainly, some language along the lines of 100 decibels or adherence to county policy, whichever is less. If we get something to this commission prior to October and it ends up being less, we don't know what that number is going to be, right?
Right.
So we know it's not going to be more if you style it that way.
Right.
I would look to amend the policy that, or amend the motion that would put it at not to exceed 100, at staff discretion not to exceed 100. So it gives the staff discretion to lower it, but it also places a limit not to exceed. Does that make sense? Council?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
Doug, I think that makes sense. This is Commissioner Dick. Superintendent Wallace Barnum, a question. It does say it's going to be monitored. Is it a presumption that there's going to be feedback between the monitors, the folks doing the monitoring, and the sound itself, the guy doing the mixing and setting the level of the amplifiers? Are they going to have a feedback loop so somebody can call up to the guy at the control panel and say, turn it down?
For the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum, Park Superintendent. In my recollection of working at the Hawkins Amphitheater, you can absolutely get that information from the person at the soundboard. It's at the soundboard, which is essentially, a few hundred feet from the stage in most cases. And that's a technical question that I think maybe Mr. Farley could answer, but that's my memory, is that on that soundboard, you're going to know that decibel level reading right there.
Yes, sorry. This is Ken Farley with Battle Action Tracks, for the record. Our sound guy is more or less the quarterback, so he's getting communication from everybody. That would not be a difficult thing to manage.
Okay, thank you.
So we have the amended motion on the table.
Yeah, I believe the motion was, there was some debate on how the wording would go. And I'm sorry, I missed your name. Ms. Rode, did you want to amend did you want to clarify how you want the motion to read?
Well, one of the concerns that I have is that in Tina's email, I'm sorry, I forgot your last name, she said it was louder at her house than it was at least one of those entrances. So one thought that I had is, could it be monitored from her house? Could somebody go to her house and take a measurement? It sounds like it's close.
I would not, this is Doug Doolittle, I would not recommend that, because then you're going to have to go to every house in the neighborhood to be fair and do the monitoring, and I don't think that's reasonable.
Well, how about at least at that corner of the park be one of the places that were monitored?
And that is very close to the Washington Street entrance, if I'm correct. Yes, that is the Washington Street entrance, which is already indicated on the agreement.
Okay. That was my main concern.
Did you want to amend your motion, or?
Well, I like the idea of not to exceed 100 decibels, or how was that put? County regulations?
Not to exceed 100 decibels or county or any future county regulations that are implemented.
That sounds reasonable.
So Lisa, I don't know if you got the packet or not that has the possible motion in it.
Well, how should I word it? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Can I?
Why don't we, Mr. Doolittle, would you like to make a motion there?
Well, there's no second on this motion, as I understand.
Right, well, we can pull that motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, so we're gonna pull that motion, and Doug's gonna read a motion. Thank you, Doug.
I move to recommend the approval of the agreement with E720 LLC for the Battle Axe and Tracks Music Festival to be held at Rancho Santa Fe Regional Park, October 7th and 8th, 2023, with the amendment that the decibel reading be at staff's discretion but not exceed 100 decibels at the measuring points.
And do I hear a second on that motion?
This is Commissioner Dake. I'd second that. And with the comment, Mr. Farley, assuming you're on here, you clearly aware by now that this is a concerning point. So it's your control of this situation at the concert at the time of the event is really a hinge point for how we go forward. So putting a bit of trust in you and your organization. So with that, I think we have enough seconds, I believe. Joel?
Yes, I think we had multiple seconds. Is there any further discussion on the motion? And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you for your time in this event application, and thank you, Mr. Farley, for your presentation. Good luck with the event.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
All right, item number 9, presentation, discussion, and possible recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to approve concession agreements for 4 leagues: the Silver State Cal Ripken, Spanish Springs Cal Ripken, Valley Providence Little League, and Washoe Little League, and to approve a lease agreement for a storage facility for Washoe Little League.
Okay, for the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum, Park Operations Superintendent. So we have done lease agreements with multiple leagues. As we've grown in parks, we've added new concession buildings to some of our facilities. And with the addition of those, we typically have some league that is then leasing that building and helping manage it to do concessions. So just a little bit of background. So we're the owner of those concession buildings. So South Valley's Regional Park, North Valley's Regional Park, Lemon Valley Park, and Eagle Canyon. They not only do those concession buildings serve the general public, but they also assist those youth leagues throughout the community. The concession services that they provide at their games are essential to local athletic leagues, and they help keep those costs affordable. So a lot of times when you have some people in a community that can't afford to send their kids or can only afford a certain level, those concessions, the money that those leagues are receiving from concessions often go to scholarships for youth to support everybody playing in a community. So that's the importance, really boiled down in the concessions that take place within the local communities and those 4 leagues that were mentioned. So without getting too cumbersome, the lease agreements typically are for a 5-year, 60-month period. And then they have 2 12-month renewals that can take place. So we are now in a time when April 1st, they will be out of compliance in 2023 of the lease agreement. So we'd like to get these all renewed. And the nice part is that we were renewing them all at the same time. If you see in the background, they were renewed at different times, and now we've got everybody on the same track, which is really nice. So for the 4 concession buildings, we'd like to propose that we do those lease agreements for 60-month terms. And then there's also a storage facility, a storage building that's owned by Washoe County, but leased by Washoe Little League. And that is another lease agreement that would be on the exact same term from April 1st of 2023 through March 31st of 2028. And that'll be helpful for these leagues to get that going so they can begin concessions as soon as they start up their games and opening day. And if anybody has questions, certainly let me know. But I did provide those lease agreement drafts to all of the leagues and all approved. I will let you know that there are some nuances and differences, and I learned that the hard way, but it's okay. We manage and maintain a couple of the restrooms. The park staff does, because they're the only restrooms in the park. At a couple of those facilities, those concession building restrooms really serve the league separately than the general public. So just wanted to let you know that 2 of those are a little bit different than the other 2, but generally, just so you know, that's a requirement of the leagues to help assist with the restroom cleaning. And we provide supplies for those. For when they're doing those, but they use them far more often than we would be cleaning them. So they help keep those in order.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments from commissioners?
This is Lisa Rhodey. I have a question. Are you saying that the leagues actually clean the bathrooms?
Correct.
So they do that after each game or once a week, or how does that work?
It's in the agreement, and the requirement is just based on use of facility. So if they use the facility every day, then they would clean the bathrooms every day. And if back in 2008, when we had the economic recession, we significantly cut staff. And we did not have staff that was going to be able to support the cleaning of bathrooms, so we wound up, entering into agreements, these lease agreements, where the leagues, it's in their best interest to keep them clean for their all of their games. So yes, they do on some of those agreements.
I have a question.
Commissioner Doolittle?
In South Valleys, the Babe Ruth Field, is that currently used by Cal Ripken, or is it used by Babe Ruth, and who monitors that agreement?
Washoe Little League.
Okay, Washoe Little League monitors the Babe Ruth Field as well.
No, sorry, not the Babe Ruth Field. The Babe Ruth Field is just managed by Washoe County and permitted to separate groups.
Okay, that's what I'm asking, because you have adult baseball that plays on there, you got Babe Ruth that plays on there, and you have football that uses field. So all three of those entities are under agreement separately.
Correct.
Okay.
They're under field permit agreements, not the concession agreement.
Right.
The concessions agreements, and the concessions is really right. It's the sale of, food and beverages to support their functions.
So just to summarize, to make sure I'm understanding, all of these currently have agreements. We're just renewing with no major changes. And then this is also just the concession buildings or concession operations, not the fields.
Correct.
themselves.
This is just the
Okay.
concession buildings, and then also that storage building at South Valleys Regional Park that's also utilized by Washoe Little League.
That's already
Correct.
utilized by them.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just a renewal.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other comments or questions from commissioners?
Yes, I have another question. Why is the term 5 years? Seems long.
It's consistent with our lease agreements. Most of our lease agreements are 5-year. This is a 60-month term. It's same as 5 years, but that is consistent with our lease agreements throughout the county.
So you feel confident that 5% over the next 5 years will be enough, provide enough funds for what you want funds provided for?
That'll be a really good segue into our next topic, which is our fees and charges policy. But yes, I do feel that there's no need for a change in the percent that we are requesting of the leagues per year for the use of those concession buildings.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
It's a long motion, but I'll make it.
Thank you. Commissioner Doolittle?
I move to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to approve lease agreements for 4 parks concession buildings located at South Valleys Regional Park to Washoe Little League leasee, Eagle Canyon Park, which is Spanish Springs, Cal Ripken leasee, North Valleys Regional Parks, which is Silver State, Cal Ripken leasee, and Lemon Valley Park, which is Valley Providence Little League leasee, and 1 lease agreement for park storage building at South Valleys Regional Park to Washoe Little League leasee. All leases are 60-month terms commencing April 1, 2023 through March 31, 2028, with 2 12-month renewal options.
Thank you, Commissioner
Well done,
Doolittle.
Commissioner Doolittle. This is Commissioner Dake. I will second that.
Thank you. We have a second. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
And Chair Joel, just to confirm, the board does approve leases, so this will then go to the Board of County Commissioners in March.
Oh, I was curious about that.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes,
that this goes to them and many other things do not.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could, I think because it is a lease agreement and it's an NRS that the board approves the lease agreements.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
for that clarification. All right, item number 10, possible recommendation of agenda topics for the joint meeting with Washoe County Open Space and Regional Park Commission, City of Reno Recreation and Parks Commission, and City of Sparks Parks and Recreation Commission on February 21st, 2023, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the McKinley Arts and Culture Center Auditorium.
Okay. for the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum, I'm going to be up here for a while. So let me open up my staff report for that item. Okay, so in November, this Park Commission approved to be a part of the joint Park Commission meeting, which is scheduled for February 21st, as you stated, 2023, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the McKinley Arts and Culture Center. Just to give some background, joint commission meetings began in 2015, and it was kind of a time during, as everybody was recovering, if you will, as we still are from the economic recession of 2008, 2009, that there are regional topics that, that just really affect all parks, whether it's you're in City of Reno, City of Sparks, or Washoe County. And the joint commission meetings really just bring those commissions together to talk about similarities and changes we might see, and really to give updates, which is a great concept. We did the joint commission meeting in 2015 and then again in 2017, but we didn't meet in 2021, because of COVID. There were some of those commissions that weren't meeting at all, and it would be great to pick that back up. So at the previous meeting, you all suggested several topics, and I've got them in bullet points on your staff report there. And we have a recommendation based on some discussions with the park staff from City of Reno and City of Sparks on what 3 topics we think would be best moving forward. I'm happy to open it up to discussion and see if there was anything that you maybe wanted to add to that motion, or if there was anything else, or maybe take one of them away or something away. So I'm kind of leaving it to this group to maybe confirm those topics.
I have a question, Colleen. Is it 3 topics from each agency, or so like each organization puts in 3 topics to the agenda, or how does that normally work with?
I think it's
joint?
a suggestion of 3 topics max is probably plenty. I think one year we had 5 and it was way too many.
Oh,
so 3 total. Correct, 3 total. So it will be 9 topics. And these are the ones that I think rose to the top for all 3 agencies as important discussion topics.
So this list has already been looked at by the other, or they're doing similar as what we're doing?
Correct. Tonight is the City of Sparks Park Commission meeting, and they will be discussing that tonight and giving their recommendations as well.
And so they have probably a similar document with a similar motion for the 3 topics?
Possibly.
And then if one of the agencies changes a topic, then what happens?
I think we just have to agree that probably having too many is a good thing, or is not a good thing, and that if we boil it down to 2, we boil it down to 2. I think that might be the case.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes, absolutely. It is. There's a lot of people at those meetings, and a lot of opportunity for discussion, which is really good. But yeah, you really can't get through many topics.
Okay. Commissioner
Make
Doolittle?
a comment. Having sat here and thought about it even more than I did before the meeting, I would recommend that we hold off. And the reason I state that is that the City of Reno currently has an interim director. They do not have a director. They're in the hiring process for a new director now. City of Sparks has a director that I've heard is retiring this summer, or maybe sooner. I don't know when. And I would recommend, plus, well, the other factor is a lot of you are new to the commission and have only been in a couple of meetings now, and it'd be nice to, for a lack of a better way of stating it, get your feet wet so you understand the issues within the state of the county's parks operations. So I'd recommend that we put this off, and recommend to the other agencies we put it off until it's stabilized with a new director at the City of Reno and possibly a new director at the City of Sparks, and we do it with their ability to have input to the process that going forward they're going to have to maybe manage in some way. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. It
does. Just if I could make one comment before Jamie Schroeder was the director of City of Reno Parks, and she retired in early January this year. Before her retirement, we were setting this meeting up as an opportunity to have the commissions meet, simply because we did do them every other year and took that break in 2021. So if this isn't the right time, you know, and I will say that Tony Pele, City of Sparks Parks Director, will be retiring in May of this year. So yes, there's definitely going to be some significant change in turnover, and that's up to you all if you want to attend. But she did set it up so that we could have the meeting if we wanted to. And she was aware. I mean, we knew that she was going to be leaving, so.
Is there that much of a loss of not having a director there, or having a director that's outgoing? Like, I mean, I know that several people are kind of filling in for Jamie at the city and doing a wonderful job. I mean, in my experience, sometimes when you get an acting director, things happen, you know, because they don't have anything to lose.
If I can comment on that.
Please.
Having been in that seat before, it would be a harsh reality for a new director to come in and take the position with any kind of openness to new ideas without being a part of those new ideas, because they'd be walking into a situation that there may be some issues mandated that they may totally disagree with, and are forging forward with a potentially new agenda. So I would think that it would be wise to include them in the process, or if you want to go forward now, then 6 months from then, have another meeting, have another joint meeting. Because it's hard to realize, I think, in that particular situation, that anything's going to come out of that meeting that's going to be immediate to begin with. I just don't see that happening. For example, a combined Parks and Recreation agency. That's going to be discussed, or should be discussed, because it's been on the agenda before. And that's not something that happens overnight. So it'd be nice to have input from these potentially new people that are coming to the community from other areas that may have been part of agencies that were part of a district, per se. So my input, I'll be quiet.
What I would recommend from Michael Large from the District Attorney's Office, what I would say is this item is fashioned as recommendation of agenda topics for the joint meeting. What I would recommend is, if this board's agreement is that they have, you want to withhold this meeting or postpone this meeting, that could be one of our suggestions. I would also recommend that the board also put forward things that they would like to see on the agenda topics, maybe relying on staff on that. Because if the other boards want to participate, I would recommend that this is a meeting of the commissions, not the meeting of the directors. The directors have their own purview, but this is a meeting of the community. And the community has input. You all represent that community. And those are good voices to be heard. It's very difficult to put these things on, to get all three boards in one place at one time. So having some recommendations and going to those meetings, even without a final director, because who knows when City of Reno is going to act and when City of Sparks are going to act. From Washoe County's perspective, we can put forward our best ideas.
I think that sounds good. And I know we've been talking about this for several months, so I'd hate to kind of pull out from, if the other agencies are still willing to have their meeting. And it's going to be recorded and available virtually, like our meetings are. Is that correct?
I am not sure they are recorded. I can find out. We can find out that information and get back with you.
Yes.
I don't know that it will be recorded. It'll have the same minutes, but I'm not sure there will be public access. It may just be an in-person meeting only.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they went to a virtual, hybrid style meeting. I'd have to find out.
Okay. Because I was just thinking, like, if a director's not in the works yet, that they could watch the meeting when they do get hired and see what take the pulse of the community.
Can we maybe, since it's only 2 hours, bring everything down to just the number one item here, update to the major parks, if all three of our commissions are meeting for the first time, sort of, to meet, that could be a great way to get all of our feet wet, as we were hearing. I don't know, unless there's other things that are percolating that time-wise, we do need to be hearing about, we just don't know that in advance. I'm thinking just for brevity and for everyone's sake, limiting this next joint commission to just the first item, updates, so that everybody could be updating. I don't know.
Thank you.
That's
I know.
certainly a possibility. And then the other thing that has been percolating for a while, which Commissioner Doolittle referred to, is the potential for a park district. And that's been a discussion point since probably 2017. So I think there was a presentation in 2017 on it. So just letting you know that that's one of those topics that's out there. And we've received some emails.
That's very important to me, and I don't want to kick the can down the road on that one. We need to we need to make some action, start moving forward on that somehow.
I would like to, one follow-up, say, I agree with the council 100%. I'm certainly not opposed to meeting. I was just looking at maybe a stretch a little bit so that we understand fully what everybody's agendas are, et cetera. I mean, keeping in mind that the Sparks Commission is meeting on that at the same time we're meeting on it to make some decisions. So the agenda is not, it's fluid right now. It's not solid. So, and whether there's items on the agenda that are action items or not, hopefully not.
I don't believe historically there haven't been action items because the boards, and there may be a potential, as you well know, Mr. Doolittle, from the ones that I've attended with this, that there is sometimes an impossibility of getting a quorum for all of the planning commissions there. But the items will be for discussion. And that's the important thing, is to have everybody there to discuss what are the main issues in Washoe County, Reno, and Sparks in this community.
And I think that's a valid point, and I think that's something that can go forward if the other commissioners feel the same way. I have no issue one way or the other. I was just making a educated guess at how it might play out, but
yeah. And I had no visions of anything changing quickly.
And then just a quick comment, wanted to add that in talking with the other directors and staff, we feel that those three topics we could potentially cover in 2 hours. So that was the reason for our recommendation, but it is up to this group of commissioners to decide what you think is best. That was our staff's recommendation.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Is there any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Thank you. Is anyone willing to make a motion?
I'd like to have a little more discussion now that we got over the generalities of what I was getting at, of what the three items from us would be recommended. Because I think the one for me would be the consolidation of services. And so often we cross over, Washoe County truck's driving this way on a road and the Sparks truck is driving this way. And the same with the city of Reno, and as Tina pointed out earlier, there's a lack of understanding at times what park belongs to who's managing a particular park in any given neighborhood, because the county is all of the neighborhoods. The county encompasses everything. And it'd be a good time to really discuss with the three agencies what the roles are of each agency and how we can cooperate better to save on costs, save, the efficiencies are there if we can just put our heads together and agree to them. So, that's one item.
I looked at that as a kind of a combination of discussing the formation of a regional park district. Are those, to me, those are kind of similar items? Are they really separate, or maybe? Or should we just extend item number 2 to include discussion on the formation of a regional park district to consolidate services provided.
That sounds good. And it covers both. And you're covering yourself on both.
Yeah, because I mean, I totally agree with both of those. And yeah, I mean, I think we can save money. I think we can just reduce resource use, and it seems like it makes sense. And I'd love to have that discussion, whether it moves forward or not. I have no idea, because I know this has been discussed for many years. But I'd love to have the discussion. So is there any further discussion on the item? So I'll call again for a motion or amended motion.
You could also make the motion yourself.
Oh, I can. Oh, okay. I will make the motion with one amendment. Move to recommend the following topics for the joint meeting with Washoe County Open Space and Regional Park Commission, City of Reno Recreation and Parks Commission, and City of Sparks Parks and Recreation Commission on February 21st, 2023, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the McKinley Arts and Culture Center Auditorium. Topic number 1, updates to the major park projects or park additions by all agencies. Item number 2, discussion on the formation of a regional park district, and the amendment would be to add to that sentence and consolidation of services. And item number 3, potential land swaps between agencies. Do I hear a second on that motion?
I second.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to add that you would like to recommend moving this per Mr. Doolittle's? We could have staff make that recommendation in regard to moving the meeting to a later time? Or do you want to just leave it with those 3?
Well, my personal opinion is that we kind of stick to the schedule because I know that there was a lot of work that went into the planning.
Okay. All right, I just want to clarify.
If there's opinion from staff on what the other agencies are thinking, I'm very open to hearing it.
As far as I know, all agencies are planning to move forward with the joint commission meeting.
Okay.
Before you vote, can I make one other suggestion? McKinley Arts Center is limited in parking, limited in space within the room. So if there's public that will attend that meeting, it's awful hard to have that meeting there. What's wrong with this space?
Can we extend the invitation to utilize this space if it's available?
As far as I know, we would have to look at who schedules this facility for evening meetings. We'd have to look at the calendar.
Okay. I agree. McKinley is not the best public meeting venue.
No.
That can just be a staff inquiry or request, or do we need to modify the motion?
I would leave that to staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can, I will talk with both the City of Reno and City of Sparks and see if there's a willingness to change location.
Okay. Or interest or.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Did we already do public comment on this one? We did. Okay, thank you. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Is there any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. And refunds.
Okay. For the record, Colleen Wallace-Barnum, Park Operations Superintendent. I have a presentation on this one. We'll change it up a little bit. So in going through a desire, talking with staff and looking at how long it's been since we've done a fee schedule increase, we started looking at the fees and charges policy for a variety of reasons. So they are 2 separate items because they really are 2 separate topics to discuss. So first we're going over the policy. So let me give you some background on the policy. So next slide, please. So just some history. The department was creating several policies and procedures as part of an accreditation process. And several of these policies were adopted between the years of 2006 and 2009. The fees and charges policy, the original was adopted in January of 2007, and there have been 2 modifications to that until today. So this would be the 3rd modification to the fees and charges policy. Okay, next slide, please. So the purpose of the policy, and this is actually a really important policy to understand, and this is why I thought it was important to do a presentation and really have some conversations about this so you understand, since there's many new park commissioners, why we have fees and charges and why we have a policy around it. So the purpose is really to provide a distinction between different types of activities related to the principles of funding and subsidization. So the guiding principle is to provide a foundation for establishing fair, objective, and equitable means to distinguishing between activities and clients when setting user fees. Next slide, please. So this is really the heart of it right here. So when you look at your different levels of service, we're looking at cost recovery of those levels of service. So for example, in level 1, which is your basic services, we typically are looking at really, for the most part, 0% cost recovery. What that means is, the taxpayers who pay, a portion of their taxes go to Parks and Recreation. They can go to their regional and neighborhood parks for free. They can go to playgrounds. They can use restrooms. They can go play tennis and basketball. Use trails, outdoor picnic grills, and outdoor interpretive programs. So those are all free services that we provide that are expected of our taxpayers, and that is our level 1 service. When you get into level 2 service, you're getting into some level of cost recovery. So the percentage next to the level is the percentage of cost recovery associated with any fee that we charge the public for the use of a facility. Typically in level 2, you're looking at, some of these are exclusive use of a facility. For example, if someone wants to reserve the Peavine Picnic Pavilion at Rancho San Rafael Park, there's a fee associated with that. And then sometimes we do rent out turf areas, and those turf areas are typically special events or special activities. Reserved facilities, those are most of our buildings, and there's you can have a meeting, can be an educational, social, variety of different functions associated with those facility reservations. Public swimming and aquatics, so obviously our pools and our aquatics facilities have a fee to enter. And that helps offset the cost of the staff and all of the things it takes, overhead cost associated with that facility. And then campgrounds, which we have 1 campground at Davis Creek Park. Level 3 is anywhere from 50 to 100% cost recovery, and that's athletic fields, which is why we charge fees for the exclusive use of the fields throughout the county. Youth camps, that's an error. I meant to take that out, so my apologies. We no longer do youth camps. Youth recreation, sports, education programs. I left that on there because we do have contract classes, and a lot of those contract classes are focused on youth and youth activities, recreational activities. And then the May Center, which is the museum and the Arboretum, and the fees associated with those facilities, and then special events, which you just approved a special event, which we will get some fees associated with that. Level 4, which is 100% cost recovery. So the idea is that you would look at all costs associated with putting these services on and get 100% recovery, which is adult and senior recreation, equipment rental, specific exhibits, and then the regional shooting facility. Okay, next slide, please. So currently, Section 5 talks about the responsibilities and details out deposits and refunds. So if you're a customer and you say, I want to rent the fish hatchery up at Galena Creek Park, the way your reservation is completed is by you paying your fee. That is how you make that's how you have a solid reservation. And in that fee, we also require a cleaning and security deposit, and that's due up front. So, that's how somebody reserves a space, and then they pay their fee, and they're good to go. They can add hours at a later date, but once they pay that fee, they've got their space. After the event takes place, park staff are required to communicate with the reservation staff about the status of the cleaning security deposit. So, most groups, it's pretty expensive for our buildings. It's $500. And I'll tell you, that's almost not enough when I talk to other facilities that are charging nowadays for their cleaning security deposit. And we will talk about that in the fee schedule. But typically staff try to get back with the reservation staff within a week and let them know, yep, everything's good, you can refund the deposits. But on occasion, you might have a group that stays late, that leaves a mess, that, perhaps things broke. And it takes time for staff to really be able to calculate what exactly was needed to bring that facility back up to good condition for any future folks that want to reserve it. Right now, we only have 3 weeks from the time of the event until staff communicates to reservations. It seems like a long time. You think 3 weeks isn't a long time, but on occasion, we have vacations, you have, short staffing levels, and, people have other things going on. It's, not their only thing they have going on. If you can go to the next slide, please. So when they're compiling the information, they have to do that quickly, and sometimes it doesn't happen and we can miss it. The last thing you want to do is do a refund to a group that left a mess or stayed late, and then the next thing you know, now we've just refunded a group that really should never have seen that money come back to them. So when we were reviewing what some other county departments in terms of how long it takes for them to go get back cleaning or a security deposit or a deposit of any variety, there's several that have it up to 6 weeks, and we felt that going from 3 weeks to 6 weeks was really a good idea. It gives more time. It just allows for a buffer, and really only in those instances when we're looking at keeping that money from a group. Most groups that are, and I would say 99% of the groups are great. They do a great job cleaning up and take care of everything and treat it like it was their own. And it's likely that, like I said, most of the refunds will be processed quickly. Next slide, please. So while going through the policy, I also recognize that there was a lot of cleanup associated with golf. As you saw the presentation from Mr. Minetti, we no longer do golf in Washoe County parks. We contract all of those golf courses out for private management, or full management, I should say. So I wanted to make sure I was removing that. So all of you should have received a red line version in your packet, and that red line version just showed the changes, and I wanted to make sure that you saw the changes that were being made. And there were a couple other just kind of spelling minor things. Next slide, please. Next slide. So if agreed, and if you have any questions, certainly let me know, but I just want to make sure you understood as we were touching this fee and charges policy. While we were also going to talk about the fee schedule next, it was important to really go through why we have a fee schedule policy and the importance behind it. And when the policy was created and when the fees were structured, they were structured according to those levels of service. So just understand that as we've gone through fee increases over the course of time, they've always been structured in that fashion. So I want to make sure I mention that. Any questions?
Are there any questions comments from commissioners? Thank you for that presentation. It seems pretty clear that it's a kind of a common sense change. Is there any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Doolittle?
Only going back on what you said about golf, and they're not included in the fee structure. But we still do the annual passes, or we don't?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay, so that's taken out. That was in the old one.
Okay.
Okay, so that's gone. Okay.
Is there a motion to approve these changes?
I can make a motion. I move to approve the updated fees and charges policy to be effective February 1st, 2023.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there a second? Is there any discussion on this motion? I have a question.
Sure.
Since this is just the policy and it's not the actual fees, how often are those looked at?
Great question. So in the next agenda item, I have that in the staff report. We used to look at it annually. It was an annual item that we brought to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. That was done annually until about 2014. And then it was probably every 2 to 4 years. So it has not been done annually since 2014.
So kind of it's just addressed as needed or as staff time is available to update?
Yes, it's been. I think if we do a fee increase, it's difficult to look at a fee increase annually when, you know, depending on what that type of increase was. And I know the last one was in 2018, and it was pretty minor. It was a 5% increase, but this one's more substantial. That, you know, for the next agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor? I'm sorry?
Public comments? Oh, did you? I was sleeping.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Colleen. And where'd the agenda go? Whoops, here we go. Item number 12, review and possible recommendation to approve an update to the fees and charges schedule that increases fees for the first time in 5 years to reflect inflation and current prices and costs with an average increase of 14%. So I obviously didn't read the entire agenda.
Thank you. For the record, Colleen Wallace-Barnum, back at it, here with the fees and charges schedule. So as Chair Joel has identified that we used to actually, if you look at the background and the history, we used to do annual fee increases, or not fee increases, but we did a fee schedule, I would say, review. And this is all under the guidance of the policy that you just saw. So the fees and charges schedule incorporates the fees over the majority of fees. So this is actually almost every fee that's on our fee schedule. We're looking at an increase across the board. And that increase that we're recommending is in line with the Consumer Price Index, otherwise known as CPI, to meet our cost recovery goals. So as I was mentioning before, when the fees were originally created and the schedule was created per that policy back in 2007, those fees were created based on those cost recovery goals. All of the increases we've made since then have been in line with those cost recovery goals. So this particular increase is in relation to those cost recovery goals as well. So each individual fee is analyzed with respect to usage and reviewing the fee schedules of neighboring agencies. So you'll see that there were two different, you'll see that there was a CPI that showed multiple years in a row of the CPI increase from about, I think it was from FY21. And then there was also another section on that Excel spreadsheet that showed the agency fees. And so we always want to make sure that we're somewhat in line with our local sister and making sure that our fees are appropriate and competitive. See, the fees and charges have been reviewed and approved annually from 2003 to 2014. And then it's been reviewed every few years to make sure we're meeting those cost recovery goals. And the last increase, as I stated, was in 2018. We did review in 2019. All we did in 2019 is we added a fee. At that time, the Lazy Five Hive had become a facility that we were utilizing for recreational purposes and identified that it could be a place that people wanted to reserve for maybe birthday parties, a pickleball party, or a basketball party, since we have both of those activities in there. And we added that fee in 2019. So that's really the last time we touched this fee schedule. So I want you to understand, if we look at, and Denise, it might be a good idea to bring up the spreadsheet of the fees, so we can just kind of go through some of those. But in general, the average cost increase for every one of those fees is going to be 14%. It's as low as 4% for some. It's as high as 50% for some. And you might say 50%, that's crazy high. But when you go from $1 to $1.50, that's a 50% increase. So, I mean, it's a pretty minimal amount of money, but it is a significant increase for that very small fee. So it's tiny. I know, I can't see it on my own, and it's right in front of me. But don't worry, Denise, if we can, I just want to show that on this particular area, the proposed increase is all the way to the right in the yellow column. And I want you to know that if I added the CPI increase for those 4 years identified in those columns, it's 17.6%. That's the CPI increase over the next 4 years, including FY24. The majority of fees, as we increase them, the average is going to be 14%, so it's less than that CPI. It's up to 17% if I include the cleaning security deposits, and we did increase all the cleaning security deposits. So with those increases, it went up to 17%, but I removed them because I figured the vast majority of those cleaning security deposits are going back to a customer. It's really not revenue that we're going to be getting, so the vast majority is 14%. And then there is a pretty decent fiscal impact associated with these increases. So real quick, I wanted to just go back to the staff report. And so roughly, our current budget for parks is about $8.7 million, and we have $950,685 is in revenue. That's revenue across the board. That's campground, pool fees, reservations, special events, everything. So it's about 11%. And with the proposed fees and charges schedule increase, we anticipate receiving an additional $145,578 in revenue for fiscal year 24. So it's a drop in the bucket compared to what we actually have in the general fund for parks. But it's nice to have some cost recovery, and we're roughly sitting at 10-11% annually in revenue. Let's not include the COVID year. The COVID years, we lost a lot of revenue from that.
Well, thank you. I just want to comment that I like your spreadsheets here. It's very clear, kind of justifying the CPI and then also comparing it to adjoining jurisdictions. And just kind of looking at the fees, nothing seems unreasonable. And just comparing some of these to like private event venues, it is significant. It's still a deal. So, I mean,
Thank you.
It's unfortunate that we have to raise fees, but your costs are going up as well, so.
Yes, staff time costs and, services and supplies are increasing. And again, we haven't touched it since 2018, the fee increase. There is one fee increase that's not on here. I can't tell you how many times I looked this over, and sure enough, somebody found something this morning. So I'm going to just propose a potential change to the recommendation, and I can help you through that. But it is under regional shooting facility, which is supposed to be 100% cost recovery. For under group reservations, on number 4, under group reservations, it says $50 minimum and $5 per shooter over 10 shooters. We are proposing $60 minimum and then $6 per shooter over 10. And that is not on there because I missed it. So I would like to add that to the motion to just make sure that we're capturing that change as well, so I don't have to come back in March for the one fee.
And just to clarify, so the $50 minimum plus $5 a shooter over 10 shooters to $60 minimum, and was it $6?
Correct.
$6 per shooter over 10 shooters.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, is there any comments or discussion from commissioners?
Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this item?
No public comment.
Is there a motion on the table with the amendment that Colleen mentioned? And I wrote it down if anyone else missed it. You got it?
I'll make a motion. Move to approve the proposed fees and charges schedules to be effective February 1st, 2023, with the amendment of $60 minimum for the shooting facility, for classroom, and $6 per shooter.
Was it classroom or group reservation?
Group reservation.
Okay. Did we catch that amendment in the record? Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion currently on the table? All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Oh, we need a second. Yes. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you. And I think I already asked for discussion, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
any opposed? Motion carries.
Just wanted to add one final comment, that this is a big step for this board to be able, this commission to be able to approve these fees. We had been hoping for years to just have fee schedule increases just approved by our park commission. So we are finally there. It's a historic moment.
We were talking about it when I represented this board, and that was 6 years ago.
All right, item number 13, Parks Reports. Do I read the entire agenda item, or do we just go into Parks Reports? Just go into Parks Reports. Colleen?
For the record, Colleen Wallace-Barnum, Park Superintendent. I'm still at it. So I'm going to highlight some things, very, very small highlights, because this has been a lot of agenda items for the commission meeting today. So Coming from the Cold has started. It's a longstanding evening program at Bartley Ranch Park, 7 p.m. on Saturday nights through March 11th. If you haven't attended, it's a lot of fun, so go on out and check it out. And park staff have been working hard. We had a lot of tree damage and damage to some of our landscaped areas with the storm from December 31st. There was some heavy snow, and that heavy snow damaged some branches and trees. They've been working hard to clean everything up. We had the Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful Christmas tree recycling event at Bartley Ranch, and then also at the Reno Sports Complex at the north end of Rancho. Both successful, and I think what was also successful, if you've driven by any of those areas and seen the amount of branches that were actually also accepted at those locations, incredible how much has been throughout the community. So that was a great opportunity for the citizens to be able to bring their branches that came down from trees to those locations. We are, another really neat thing to report. So Christy Lyde, the museum curator, you should have all received dinosaur exhibit passes. So please either, utilize them for yourselves or give them to friends and family, or bring your friends and family. Had the biggest day financially that it has seen historically. So the highest revenue that we've seen at the facility was $6,600. And last Sunday, it was $9,000, almost a 30% increase, which is pretty incredible. So great to see people getting out there and appreciating, all the effort staff put into some of these exhibits. And that's really the updates I wanted to provide you. Any questions?
Was the decision on the accepting the branches to the Christmas tree recycling, was that a Washoe County decision, or was that a KTMB?
I think KTMB.
Okay, I thought that was a great idea. I saw that, and everyone had branches, and it was great to just pivot quickly and be like, hey, we can take those too and chip them. And
Yeah, I think it was a great idea, considering how many were, sometimes they end up in our, open spaces, so we'd rather see them in an area where we can chip them, so it's great.
Yeah. Cool. Any questions for Colleen? Cool. Thank you for that report. Item number 14, Director's Report, to include updates on Board of County Commissioners' actions, future meeting locations, commissioner field trips, community sponsorship requests, department updates, and community partnerships.
Thank you. For the record, Eric Crump with Washoe County's Community Services Department. And just to follow up, just to give credit where credit is due, I believe the suggestion to extend and accept the branches came from Commissioner Hartung. And he sits on the fire board as well as a county commissioner and TAP staff, and we made contact with KTMB, and so lots of people were involved in that. So, and it was a great idea based on what we've seen at those locations. So first, Assistant County Manager Dave Solero is in a Board of County Commission workshop that may or may not be over yet, but he's been there all day. So first, I would like to introduce and welcome our new park planner, Faye Marie Picard. She comes from us from the city of South Lake Tahoe, and she's here. Thank you. Awesome. Welcome. She's been on the job for 2 months? Yeah, just shy of 2 months. So she's getting her feet wet as well, and I'm sure you'll see her here at future meetings. So welcome. And Board of County Commissioners has done several things since you last met. I have updates dating back from November, so I'll just hit some of those highlights. They did authorize our temporary employees that are contracted through Manpower who are acting as our open space management technicians to drive county vehicles. So it takes board action to drive county vehicles if you're not a county employee. So that's big for that program. We accepted 2 public trail easements and the associated maintenance agreements for access to our Red Hill for some developments up in Spanish Springs. We accepted a couple of grants. We accepted a $212,000 grant from the Nevada Division of State Parks, Land and Water, otherwise known as LWCF grant, and that's for trailhead and access path at Riverbend. So we'll be moving forward on that project. And we also accepted a $455,000 LWCF grant for an all-inclusive playground at Rancho San Rafael. So we're super excited about that as well. In December, they approved the agreement between Washoe County and the Biggest Little Trail Stewardship. That agreement came in front of this board, so they approved that in December. And then we also, they approved amendment number 5 to an agreement that dates way, way back with Tahoe Transportation District regarding the East Shore Trail. There's still a little bit of money left on that project, and it was perfect timing because they're able to piggyback on some work that NDOT is doing at State Route 28 up an incline, and we're gonna have some additional paid parking to go along with some of the paid parking that we put in for East Shore Trail. In January, we have a new commissioner liaison for this board. She's at that board workshop as well, but it's Commissioner Marlise Garcia, so you'll see her here hopefully. And so Alexis Hill has kind of removed herself, and Commissioner Marlise Garcia will be our new commission liaison. In January, we accepted a $345,000 grant from the Commission for Cultural Centers and Historic Preservation. And this really starts the restoration process for our Galena Creek Schoolhouse that's located at Philip and Annie Callahan Park. So it's kind of the phase 1 piece of the restoration efforts, and that's in alignment with a master plan that we did several years ago that talked about the restoration of that and then connecting Galena Creek, the Galena Creek Schoolhouse to Callahan Park. So we're excited about that as well. And other than that, that's all I have.
Does anyone have any questions for Director Crump?
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Item number 15, Commissioner request for future agenda items. Does anyone have any requests for future agenda items? Commissioner Doolittle?
I just wanted to find out, if it's possible, what the outcome of the survey was in terms of the Wednesday meetings and the time. I suggested 1:30 start rather than 2:30 because of the freeway, getting on the freeway later in the afternoon is difficult.
Can we open up the last item again?
Go ahead.
I apologize. I meant to address that in our district report, but I believe Denise Evans has contacted each of you individually via email to determine whether or not a Wednesday meeting at 1:30 would work. It sounds like it would, and it was preferred by many, so that's the direction we'll go, Wednesday, 1:30 quarterly.
Any other commissioner requests for future agenda items? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 16. Are there any public comments?
No public comment.
Thank you. And then do we need to do a motion for adjournment or?
You can just say adjourned.
We are adjourned. Thank you for attending.